Hello and welcome. This is World News, live from Warsaw on TVP World. My name is Anna Kalczyńska. US President Donald Trump has announced that Israel and Hamas have agreed on the first phase of a deal to end the conflict in Gaza. According to Trump, all hostages will be released and Israel will withdraw its troops to an agreed-upon line.
I am very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means that all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps towards a strong, durable and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. And we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt and Turkey who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Blessed are the peacemakers.
At least 5 people were wounded in overnight drone strikes on Ukraine's Odesa region. According to the State Emergency Service of Ukraine, the strike hit multiple residential buildings, a gas station and port infrastructure in the port city. Large-scale fires broke out after Russian drones hit 2 residential blocks, an administrative building and a gas station. Additionally, drones hit infrastructure in Odesa's port, sparking a fire which enveloped containers holding vegetable oil, vehicles and wood fuel pellets. In response, the State Emergency Service of Ukraine deployed 83 professional firefighters, 18 pieces of equipment and a robot to combat the flames. The operation also involved 4 volunteer firefighters who came along with one of the trucks. On Wednesday evening, outgoing French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu said he expects President Emmanuel Macron to appoint his successor within 48 hours. In an interview with French television, Lecornu added that he believes that the likelihood of the snap elections have diminished.
I handed in my resignation on Monday morning. Perhaps we can come back to that later. I think I have demonstrated that I'm not chasing after the job I resigned. I agreed to work 48 hours in conditions that were not exactly easy. I am a bit of a warrior monk, so I obviously accepted the mission that the president tasked me with. Tonight, I consider my mission to be over. I told the president that the prospects of parliament dissolution were receding and that I believed the situation allows the president to appoint a prime minister within the next 48 hours.
On Thursday, the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, faces 2 confidence votes in the European Parliament. The motions were brought after far-left and far-right fractions accused the EU official of lack of transparency and rejected her trade policies. Critics from the far left and centre accuse von der Leyen of standing in line with the far right and backtracking on environmental legislation. Furthermore, during a debate on Monday, they also accused her of inaction over what they called the genocide in Gaza. At the same time, far-right MEPs accused the head of the European Commission of surrendering the European Union to the United States in matters of trade. While both motions are expected to fail, they show growing dissatisfaction with von der Leyen's leadership. This is also not the first time Ursula von der Leyen's critics have attempted to oust her from her position, as in July, the far right also motioned to remove her as the head of the EU Commission. Speaking to TVP World, Roland Freudenstein, co-founder of Brussels Freedom Hub, said that Angela Merkel's comments about Poland and the Baltic states blocking talks with Putin before the war in Ukraine drew backlash in Germany.
We are also appalled at the self-righteousness of Angela Merkel, who, she's saying this for one of 2 reasons, or maybe for both. First of all, she's pretending that further talks could have kept Putin from attacking Ukraine. And she's somehow claiming that she had a deal to follow up Minsk II, in which Putin didn't believe anymore, as she stated. So, what would that deal have been? Already Minsk II was unfair to Ukraine and treating Russia as a mediator, not as the aggressor. So if she wanted to present a deal to Putin that he believed in, it would have been even worse for Ukraine than Minsk II.
Polish President Karol Nawrocki will attend the 2025 Arraiolos Group meeting held in Tallinn, Estonia. The two-day summit begins on Thursday. The Arraiolos Group brings together presidents from across the European Union for a high-level informal summit. This year, the key items of the meeting's agenda are artificial intelligence and global security. Nawrocki will be welcomed in Tallinn by his Estonian counterpart. During his stay, he will also meet with the president of the Estonian parliament. The Arraiolos Group summit will also be attended by the presidents of Germany, Italy, Slovakia and Latvia, and others. Last year, the meeting was held in Poland. It is not in the interest of decency and justice to hand over the citizen. That's the message from Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk as he pushes back on Berlin's request to extradite the Ukrainian suspect accused of damaging the Nord Stream pipelines. Poland has long opposed the project, which allowed Russian gas to flow directly to Germany, until explosions more than 3 years ago left the route useless. Paweł Trzaskowski reports.
This is what the Nord Stream pipeline looked like 3 years ago after it was blown up in an underwater explosion. Half a year after the Russian invasion on Ukraine, it was to be sabotaged by a group of Ukrainian divers, according to the German prosecution. One of the suspects in this case, Volodymyr Z, was detained in Poland last week. Now it's up to the National Court to decide whether he will be extradited to Germany for a trial. But the Polish Prime Minister says an extradition would not serve his country well.
It is certainly not in the interest of Poland or in the interest of a simple sense of decency and justice to accuse or hand over this citizen to another state.
The Nord Stream pipeline, along with its newer sibling Nord Stream 2, bypassed Poland and the Baltic states, transporting Russian gas directly to Germany, a symbol of Western Europe's dependence on Russian resources staunchly opposed by Warsaw.
The problem of Europe, the problem of Ukraine, the problem of Lithuania and Poland is not that Nord Stream 2 was blown up, but that it was built.
The explosion rendered the pipelines useless, cutting off Russia from the European markets, something that the countries supporting Ukraine should fight, not condemn, according to Volodymyr Z's lawyer.
Vladimir Putin is rubbing his hands together looking at the fact that thanks to German and ultimately Polish hands, a Ukrainian citizen accused of an act that is probably considered an act of heroism in Ukraine is in a Polish detention center.
Subsequent investigations into the cause of the incident, led by Sweden and Denmark, were closed without identifying the suspects. The German investigation, however, is still open.
We in Germany are a state of law and we consistently investigate crimes committed within our jurisdiction.
These comments were made by the German Justice Minister after another suspect, Serhiy K., was detained in Italy in August this year. An Italian lower court ordered his extradition to Germany, but Serhiy K. is appealing the verdict to Italy's top court. Back in Poland, Volodymyr Z is to remain in custody for up to 40 days, awaiting extradition ruling. Paweł Trzaskowski for TVP World.
Andrzej Poczobut is halfway into an 8-year sentence for criticizing Alexander Lukashenko's regime, and there's little hope of freedom soon. The Belarusian Polish journalist has been moved to solitary confinement after spending months in a maximum security penal colony. Piotr Miszczuk has more.
This is Andrzej Poczobut, a Polish Belarusian journalist who is 4 years into an 8-year sentence for criticism of the Belarusian regime. After several months in maximum security penal colony, he has now been moved to solitary confinement for 6 months.
The dictator continues to torment and abuse Andrzej Poczobut, who has been placed in a punishment cell for 6 months.
has now been placed in Nowopolotsk, a penal colony with a reputation of one of the worst across Belarus. He cannot be visited by his family or receive mail. The transfer is bad news for Poczobut.
He will be kept in a closed space and see the light for, I don't know, a couple of hours a day maximally in a small corner, couple of meters long and couple of meters wide.
One could pin more hopes on Poczobut's release after Belarusian dictator Alexander Lukashenko made a series of US-brokered prisoner releases at the turn of June. And after Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski assured the public that Poland would attempt to bring Poczobut back.
We will continue to strive to free the rest, including Andrzej Poczobut.
But some experts speculate he might have already been offered freedom but declined to leave Belarus, similarly to Mykola Statkiewicz, who in late June refused deportation to Lithuania and was returned to the penal colony.
Maybe Andrzej Poczobut does not agree to be exchanged or to be expulsed from Belarus like other political prisoners. Maybe he behaves like Mykola Statkiewicz.
Many Belarusian opposition activists still remain behind bars after arrests during anti-regime protests in 2020 and 2021. Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya hopes US President Trump and European leaders will help free more of them.
Releasing of at least 1,300 political prisoners, it's a huge scores, for any president.
One of the recently released prisoners is her husband Sergei. Now their family, residing in Lithuania, has had their level of security detail reduced, prompting her to scale back her activity.
Our work has been closely linked with Lithuania's security system, which is why we now have to temporarily suspend part of our operations. Svetlana Tikhanovskaya's security is not a luxury or a privilege, it is a matter of survival.
The change particularly pertains to her personal protection during foreign trips. The move likely serves Lithuania's domestic politics purpose, catering to a nationalist group in the new government.
In my opinion, there is a nationalistic mood in Lithuania, so they consider immigrants from Belarus as a threat to the national identity. Basically, they're Russian-speaking.
And now it will be more difficult for Tikhanovskaya to raise awareness about the ongoing repressions in Belarus. Piotr Miszczuk, TVP World.
Poland's national football team will take on New Zealand in a friendly match on Thursday evening. The team has also already held its first training camp under new coach Jan Urban's management. Thursday's game will give the coach an opportunity to test players like Michał Skóraś and Kacper Kozłowski, who are returning to the national team after their long absence. Poland and New Zealand have only played once. The last time was a friendly game in 2002. Poland won that match 2-0. The first was held 3 years earlier in 1999 as part of the Four Nations tournament in Bangkok. That match ended goalless in regulation time, and Poland only won 5-4 on penalties. Forget the sound of music. Welcome to the sound of Frédéric Chopin. Warsaw will this week will play host to the second round of one of the most prestigious classic music competitions in the world, named after the famous Polish composer. Karolina Stolzman has the highlights so far.
The Chopin competition, the world's most prestigious piano contest, began with 84 participants who traveled to Warsaw from 18 countries. Over half of the participants have been eliminated in the first round of the competition. Piotr Pawlak, seen here, is among 4 Poles still in the running. China leads the group with 15 pianists qualifying for the next round, underscoring the country's growing influence in the classical music sphere. We asked an expert to weigh in on the chances Polish pianists have to win the competition.
Piotr Aleksiewicz has participated 4 years ago, and he was in the semi-finals, and now he's back. He has made a very convincing first round, And so that's the first name to mention, a very good musician and an excellent pianist. And another is Yehuda Prokopowicz, who is very, very young and has produced a wonderful performance yesterday. So I would bet on these two from out of 4.
The prestigious competition can only have one winner.
We have a strong field of contenders who will certainly make the next 3 rounds very, very interesting.
And the second stage of the Chopin competition will end this Sunday. And only some 20 players will remain to fight for the title of the top Chopin interpreter, a €60,000 prize and a gold medal. For TVP World, Karolina Stolzman.
Well, we keep fingers crossed for all the contenders in the second round. Thank you so much for this news bulletin, and please stay tuned to TVP World for more comments and updates.